All right, in this lesson, we're going to look at finding the inverse of a rational function, and we're going to do this algebraically. And so remember the steps. The steps are the first thing you're going to do is replace f of x with y, because remember that's what f of x stands for. So we're going to say y equal x plus 5 divided by x minus 3. Then the next step you're going to do is you're going to interchange the variables. So remember, inverse functions are symmetrical about the line y equals x. So remember, the line y equals x is the line where inverse functions are symmetrical about. So y equals x, x equals y. So we're going to interchange the variables. So we get x equal y plus 5 divided by y minus 3. So we're going to place y with x and x with y. Okay, so that was the next step. Now what we're going to do is we're going to solve this rational equation for the variable y now. So notice we have y in the numerator and y in the denominator. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite x as x divided by 1, and then since this is a proportion, we can go ahead and cross multiply, or if you want to, you can multiply both sides by the least common denominator, which is y minus 3. And so we then get the following. So if I go ahead and cross multiply, I get x times y minus 3 equals 1 times y plus 5. Okay, so I get this equation. And then I'm going to go ahead and distribute the x, get rid of the parentheses. So I get x times y, and then minus 3x, right? And that equals y plus 5. All right, so now notice that I have, remember I'm trying to solve for the variable y. So I have y terms on both sides. So I'm going to bring all the y terms to one side and the other terms to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract y from both sides. And so I get xy minus y minus 3x equal, combine like terms, this is 0, and then equal 5, right? Then I'm going to add 3x to both sides. And you could have done both of these in one step, combining like terms also. The 3x's are opposite, so that adds up to be 0. I get xy minus y equal 3x plus 5. Okay, now at this point you have to use some factoring here, because notice that these two terms both contain the factor y. So I'm going to go ahead and factor out a y, and so I get y times x minus 1, all right? Y times x is xy, y times a negative 1 is a negative y, equal 3x plus 5. Now at this point, notice that the y here, the factor y, is being multiplied by this factor x minus 1. So since this multiplication, I can get y by itself by dividing both sides by this factor. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to divide both sides by x minus 1. And so the x minus 1 factors divide out. X minus 1 divided by x minus 1 is 1. Y times 1 is y, equal 3x plus 5 divided by x minus 1. And so therefore, that's the inverse. Okay, but you're going to write it as, since I wrote this as f of x, we're going to say f inverse now. So you're going to say f inverse of x is going to equal 3x plus 5 divided by x minus 1. All right, and so that's the inverse. So that's how you find the inverse of this function algebraically. All right, now let's look at the second one. So the second one, let's say we had this rational function, so number 2. And let's say the rational function is g of x is equal to 2x minus 3 divided by 5x plus 2. All right, so I had this rational function. All right, so the same process, you're going to replace g of x with y. So I get y equal 2x minus 3 divided by 5x plus 2. And then at this point, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite y as y over 1. And so remember, also at this point, you're going to interchange the variables. So y becomes x, x becomes y. So remember, inverse functions are symmetrical about the line y equals x. So y equals x, x equal y. All right, so I get x divided by 1 equal 2y minus 3 divided by 5y plus 2. So to get y by itself, now we got to solve for y. Notice I have y in both numerator and the denominator here, but I do have a rational equation. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by the LCD, which is 5y plus 2. Or I can notice that this is a proportion. I have a fraction equal to fraction, so I can just cross multiply. So I'm going to get x times 5y plus 2, and then that's going to equal 1 times 2y minus 3, which is 2y minus 3. And so now I'm going to go ahead and distribute the variable x. So I get x times 5y is 5xy plus x times 2 is 2x equal 2y minus 3. Now at this point I notice that I have the variable y as a factor in two terms, and they're on both sides of the equation. So I'm going to bring all the terms that have the factor y in it and all the terms that does not to the other side. So bring the terms that have the factor y in it to one side, the others to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2y from both sides, and then rewriting this, there are no like terms on this side, so I'm going to write it as this: 5xy minus 2y plus 2x equal, these are like terms on this side, they add up to be 0, those are opposites, 0 and a negative 3 is a negative 3. All right, now this term does not have a factor y in it, so I'm going to bring them to the other side, so I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. And then combining like terms over here, these are the only two like terms. They have to be 0. Those are opposites. So I get 5xy minus 2y equal, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the x term first. So it'll be negative 2x minus 3. And just like we did in the previous problem, both of these terms have a factor y, so let's go ahead and factor out the y. So you get y times 5x minus 2 equal negative 2x minus 3. And then to get y by itself, right now multiplying it by this factor of 5x minus 2, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5x minus 2. And so then these divide out, and so you get y equal a negative 2x minus 3 divided by 5x minus 2. And that's the inverse. So you'd say g inverse of x is equal to negative 2x minus 3 divided by 5x minus 2. Now, one other thing I got to remind you is this. So there are a couple other ways you can write the numerator. So notice that then both terms of the numerator are negative, right? So if you want to, you can do this. You could say, I'm going to go ahead and factor out a negative from the numerator, and you get 2x plus 3 divided by 5x minus 2, like that, okay? Or just to, and really that should be, let me go ahead and do this. Or you can say g inverse of x is, rather than saying or this, say g inverse of x equals that. Negative 2x plus 3 divided by 5x minus 2. But what I also want you to notice is this. So you see how we have that negative in the numerator? You can put a negative on the outside. So I just want to remind you about that, meaning this. So if I have negative 2 divided by 3, that's the same thing as saying, that's equivalent to saying negative 2/3, like that, where you have the negative out in front. So you see this negative corresponds to that one right here. So you can write it like this as well. G inverse of x is equal to negative, and then the numerator is 2x plus 3, and the denominator is 5x minus 2. All right, so those are all equivalent ways of writing this inverse. All right, but most students will probably leave it like this, which is fine. And that's it. So that is how you're going to find the inverse of a function algebraically.